Tape's rolling.
Okay. First of all, obviously, we must congratulate you on all these awards. I said earlier, you know, the Grand Prix at Cannes and this Fipresci Prize, and James Spader, the leading actor, getting the Best Male Role award and all the rest of it. Did you ever entertain the idea that, you know, this film would receive all this recognition?
No, I was too busy entertaining the idea that it may go into the toilet. So I didn't expect any of this.
Bearing in mind the success now, it must have been a relatively, in the film world anyway, cheap film to do. It's obviously going to make quite a lot of money as well.
Well, it was a very inexpensive film to make, and so it will certainly return its investment. I don't know ultimately how much over that it'll return, but that has been one of the good things about it, is already my investors have gotten their money back, and that I'm glad.
Mm. I know that the film's based in many ways on experiences you've had in life, even though you perhaps didn't take to looking at videotapes and so on.
No.
So the events, the specific events, aren't things that you've experienced, but it is based on things that you felt anyway.
Oh, emotionally, yeah, it's very autobiographical. I mean, there were all of the feelings in the film are those that I've felt or caused another person to feel, and so in that sense it was very true. I just put all these things in a fictional setting.
Mm. Is it a film, I found in many ways it must be a film which is reflecting very much today's society. There's all these hung up people around, lonely people, people experiencing emptiness in their lives, deceiving each other. Perhaps I'm painting a blacker picture of reality than the film is, but in many ways it is very much what people's lives are about, perhaps in American society today.
Oh, I think so. The funny thing is, talking to people who've seen the film, is that when I wrote the film very unconsciously and never looked beyond just the four main characters, and so the idea, which is true, that they are very representative of certain types of Americans anyway, was something I never thought of. I only thought of them as these four people. I never thought of them being a certain type or representing a certain kind of person, but I guess they do. I mean, I live in America, and my friends are Americans, so I guess it does very much reflect that culture.
I don't know if it was just me or if it's something you wanted to get across, but in many ways the characters transformed for me my feelings about them during the course of the film. John is like a bad guy the whole way through, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
Cynthia is not necessarily a bad guy, because she's not fooling around. She has a certain amount of humour, so in a way you feel a lot of sympathy for her all the way through. Graham in the beginning is a real good guy coming in there, but during the course of the film you think, well, is he all these things he's trying to make himself out to be, and at the end you really doubt it, and at the end he's perhaps not as innocent as he was in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And Anne, the innocent, unassuming wife, but as soon as she gets the chance, she does, just like everybody else, the sort of things she's been against and criticising earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be correct way of perceiving them?
I think that the film is accurate in the sense that when you know somebody, even if they're good friends of yours, there are things about them that you like, and there are things about them that you don't like, and so I just wanted the behavior to be accurate, and it didn't concern me that at different times in the film you liked the person, and then they did something that bothered you, and you know, that just seemed real to me.
I know it meant a lot for you to do this film with a small independent film company.
Mm-hmm.
What were the main advantages, and were there any disadvantages as well with that?
Well, no, there really weren't any disadvantages. The $1.2 million was just what we needed to make this film. We didn't need any more money than that, and we were very much left alone, and nobody was looking over our shoulder, and it was a very pleasant atmosphere to make a film in, so I think it was ideal.
I read that the actual recording was done relatively quickly. You were able to edit the thing yourself in quite a short period of time and so on, and the resources were at your disposal and everything. I read somewhere that you have a project perhaps on the go now with Universal, one of the bigger film companies, of course. So how will you tackle this? Perhaps you won't have the same, if you like, freedom or possibilities to work in quite the same way as you were able to do on this film.
I don't know. I've had a lot of talks with Universal about that, and I think I am aware and they are aware that the more expensive the project becomes, the more they're going to want to be involved. And so I'm trying to keep the cost down. I'm trying to make sure that the process is very much the same and that the same kind of guerrilla filmmaking tactics that we used on Sex Lies are applied on a larger scale to this film, so that I don't have to have the huge budget and all the money is up on the screen. So I'm not very concerned.
Mm. The success from this film, though, will obviously affect you and your future career, and it's come relatively early, really, in your film career anyway. What's it all going to mean, do you think, in the longer term?
I don't know. Certainly there's the danger that the occurrence of a sudden success could be followed by an equally sudden failure. So I've tried very hard to kind of distance myself from the success of the film so far, in the same way that I would distance myself from a failure. You really can't take either of them too seriously. So I live outside of Los Angeles and kind of stay out of the fire.
You did a rock documentary a few years ago with the group.
A concert film, that's correct.
Yeah, which we met them not so long ago as well.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's a great bunch of people.
Yeah, they're funny.
Yes, yes, they are. Would you like to sort of do things like that again, do you think, in the future?
Not really. That was a fun project to do, and I enjoyed working with them. And I was very young, and it was just a good opportunity for me. But my mind doesn't really work that way. I see music videos, and a few of them are good. And when you see one that's really good, I tend to think, gosh, I never would have thought of that. That's an interesting idea. So I tend to work in a much more linear, narrative way, and so videos just don't. I wouldn't be very good at them.
Mm. You have opinions about videos as well, I think, which is obviously underlying a little bit in the film.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can separate it into a lot of different forms of video. I think some forms are more dangerous than others. Some forms of television are more dangerous than others. But it's a very strange medium, you know. It's like a gun. You point it somewhere, and sometimes it can break down a barrier, and sometimes it can hurt somebody. It varies. You have to be careful.
I was trying to think after the film, its relationship to the debate on pornography. Would you see the film as indirectly an argument in favor of liberal laws on pornography?
I don't know. I hadn't thought about that. I don't view what Graham does in the film as being very positive. He's a very emotionally dysfunctional person. And I think somebody coming out of the film saying, oh, I want to go tape somebody, has not gotten the point. But on the other hand, I have mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, I think everybody should be able to do what they want to do, and as long as it doesn't involve hurting another person. But on the other, I think the proliferation of films, magazines in the States, like Playboy and Penthouse, has ultimately, I think, demeaned women and made men have this idealized version of what women should look like, and I think that ultimately is harmful. It has taken a lot of the mystery out of it, and that's a shame. But I don't feel so strongly about it that I want to tell somebody that you can't look at those magazines anymore. That's just my feeling.
Mm. I know it's very important, the team of actors that you use for the film, that they, in many ways, were given a lot of leeway to interpret the roles as they felt. And obviously they discussed, or you chose them before the actual filming,
right.
The right people, so that you felt they were the right people, that you obviously understood what their roles were.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of telling the actor what to do. I like to guide them as much as possible, but give them a lot of freedom to come up with ideas, and in this case they did, and I was very happy. The film is, as far as I'm concerned, the film is much better than the script that I wrote.
Finally, obviously you're in Sweden, and with your surname being as it is, I think your grandfather emigrated to...
My grandfather was born here in Stockholm in 1896 and left as a teenager. And I spoke to my father last night, and he was this odd person. He left Sweden, he traveled quite a bit and then settled in the States and completely cut himself off from his background. He never came back, he never called, he never wrote. I don't know, none of us know what happened to his brothers. He had 2 brothers here. So during lunchtime I've got his full name and his exact birthday, and we're going to try and track him down and see if there's any record of other families, because I'm curious. He never spoke to me about it.
So this is the first time anybody since him has tried to sort of trace anybody?
It's the first time anybody other than him anybody in the family has been to Stockholm, or to Sweden, or to Scandinavia even.
Really? Nobody's been sort of curious before?
Oh, they've all been curious, but they haven't had the opportunity to come over, so I'm hoping to take advantage of it.
Yeah. What are the sort of ideas that you've had about this part of the world yourself, in that you also have roots here?
You know, a lot of it has been formed by, seeing Ingmar Bergman films. So, you kind of get this idea that everybody's kind of sitting around like that. And certainly, I think I've inherited a certain, I don't know, my father and I are prone to bouts of melancholy. I think that's probably inherited. But in general, I was told that the people here were very attractive, that everybody looked very nice, and that they were very friendly, and that's been the case so far.
You mentioned your grandfather moved around a lot. You've also moved around quite a lot.
I know, I have. Our family moved around quite a bit, and although within the States. And I'm finding as I get older that travel interests me more than when I was a child, or even a teenager. I thought I would never want to leave the States, and now I find I want to go other places.
In what way do you think it'll help you in developing your own career?
Yeah, I do. I think it's always healthy to be exposed to different cultures and different kinds of people, and see perhaps things that are universal that everybody seems to feel or think about, and see the things that different cultures, ideas that are specific to certain cultures. I think that's healthy.
You think it'll lead one day to you filming perhaps in another environment?
Oh, I think so. I very definitely see a time where I would make a film or films in Europe.
How has the film, talking about this one thing, how's the film been received in Baton Rouge, in that area of the
Well,
state?
it's funny. Today is Wednesday, and the first showing of the film is today in Baton Rouge. The film opens on Friday there, but there's a screening tonight of the crew that worked on the film, which was largely from Baton Rouge and New Orleans. The family members of mine who haven't seen the film yet, and friends of mine in Baton Rouge. So I guess tomorrow morning I'll call over to find out how it went. I don't know how they're going to respond.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Finally, do you know how your surname is pronounced in Swedish?
It's Soderbergh.
Soderbergh,
That's I don't know. That's the people I hear different ones, and it's hard to. The language is very unusual.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thanks
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.
Take the drawing whenever you want.
Okay. Should I say hi? Or hey?
Say, why not?
No, I won't do that. My name is Steven Soderbergh, and I'll be talking to you very soon on Top Gear on the Nordic channel.
Great. Would you mind doing one where you just sort of say who you are and you're watching Top Gear?
Okay.
Please.
I'm Steven Soderbergh, and you're watching Top Gear on the Nordic channel.
Great. Finally, if you wouldn't mind doing a radio one, you don't have to look into the camera now.
Okay.
Måste du rulla? I alla fall. Ja, jag måste rulla. You're listening to the Stuart Ward Show. You say who you are and
Stuart Ward?
Stuart Ward Show, yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Steven Soderbergh, and you're listening to the Stuart Ward Show.